Oh, okay. It's already up. Cool. Cool. Let's pull this. All right. Test. Sound looks good. It looks good. I think we're live. Yo, straight up, I messed up. I had to push this thing back, like time-wise. I pushed this thing back. Like, we'll talk about that. But I pushed it back a little bit. I thought I set it for 12:45. It was set for 12:40. That's on me. That's on. But we're here. We're here, though. We're here. We're live. It's fine. I was like, yo, do I have something that I can put this like stream starting soon? No. Also, the intro acting weird. Okay, so I'm gonna have to make some tweaks to it. I don't want to dive into what's acting weird, but it's acting weird, so I got to make some tweaks. We'll get that thing figured out. We'll make it even better when we play that again. What also was I going to touch on here? So I don't know if this episode is in DODcast form yet, though, but we're still going to follow that same thing. We're just going a little bit later today. That was not my intention. This was supposed to start like usual, 9:30. Got up super early. I was like, yo, knocking this out, preparing for it. I was preparing over the weekend. It just took too long. What's the word here? Okay, I overplayed how fast I was going to be able to get ready for this, and I wasn't. So we're going a little bit later, but I think it's a great test. Okay, I think it's just a fantastic test to see how we do a little bit later in the day. Now, I am planning this, so I'm going to lay this out there. My man Brent's in the building. What's good, Brent? What's good, Michael? I see you. Ryan's in the building. How you guys doing? Okay, if you are listening to this, if this does become podcast format, and you're like, what's he talking about? There's people watching this live right now. I'm planning, I think, we'll see if this sticks. Monday, Wednesday, Friday will be live. That way, Tuesday, Thursday, I can try to focus on getting out pre-recorded videos like breakdowns. I don't want to do breakdowns live. I overreached. That makes more sense. I don't even know what I said. You should have just said that, Mike. Look, you were a little bit late, but it's cool. It's all right. There's a little delay. That's not on you. I think that's the plan. Monday, Wednesday, Friday live going forward. Tuesday, Thursday, I can focus on getting pre-recorded videos because things like breakdowns are just, they're not it. Live stream, they're not. Now, I can talk about players and show clips, but doing a full breakdown is not it. It hasn't really worked that well for me. There's too much editing and stuff that goes into it as well. So that's kind of what I want to do there. But today, yo, I'm fired up. All right, I'm pretty fired up. Today we have two, we usually I'm trying to come in with like two main subjects that we're going to dive into. Some will probably only have one. Yeah, DT fit. Well, no, okay. This is not supposed to be when we started, okay? Here's what I was thinking. We'll see if it sticks. I was thinking Monday, Wednesday, Friday live. Wednesday would be like a night stream. That's what I was thinking. That way I could get guests on, like try to get Rad on, things like that. Monday, Friday would be normal early. Now, hey, if going in the afternoon works better, we'll do that. All right, I'm down with either. But I do like the morning thing. As my man Michael said, I overreached on my time to start this thing. But we have two things today, and we also have some side things that we're going to talk about. We're going to jump into. We also may have a segment as well. I'm thinking about starting this because for me, going through the comment section at times, I don't really go through the comment section. I know you guys are aware of that. So I was thinking about starting a thing where I would read comments live from maybe past videos, maybe the live stream. I don't know. Just reading what you guys put. A lot of those comments aren't y'all though. Okay. It's like comments that weren't there for the live stream. So that might be something that we do, especially the ones where it's like roasting me or something, or it's like a heated comment. I think those would be hilarious to react to live because usually this get ignored. I think it would be hilarious to react to those live. So that may be something we try today. And then also potentially on those Wednesday streams, just right now, this is probably going to change when training camp gets closer and off-season activities pick up. Wednesday streams could have more variety to them. I want to add variety to all of these shows, to be honest, but they may have more variety in the sense of they may get outside of football a little bit, potentially with Rad. If we get some shows like that with Rad, hopefully maybe we can get that Wednesday. I'll have to see if we can do that. But yeah, so I think I hit on everything there. These shows, the only variety that right now I put up the little poll that I'm thinking about diving into is draft stuff. I know you're like, yo, hold up. Draft stuff. Look, I like the draft. I love the draft. So if that becomes something that's like a lot of fun that we just do, like way too early draft stuff, I'm cool with it. It won't be the whole show, but if that's a segment, I'm down with it. We're going to try that today. Okay. Did I hit on everything? I never gave up on Levi. I hear he's healthy and looking good. Levi may be discussed today. He might be. You might be at the right show, Brett. You might be. Hey, let's do it. Levi okay, so there's hype for Levi. See, this is fantastic. This is going to work out. And that's the first thing we're going to, well, actually, we might do the draft first. I don't know. Let's start with this, though. Before we get into the two main subjects, I saw this article posted by Pride of Detroit. Shout out to Pride of Detroit. I think this was Pride of Detroit, right? Actually, let me double check before I'm just like giving credit to someone that didn't post. Yeah, that's who this is. Okay. They posted this article and it was a Jared Goff article. And I thought it was perfect. It wasn't like there. I'll show you. Okay. I thought this was perfect more so to kind of what we did last week than anything. Not necessarily this week, but we might as well just throw it in here because I thought it was interesting. And what I've done is every day I find something that I think is interesting. I just save it or I take it in my notes. I'm like, we could talk about this. So this is something that I thought was interesting. And it kind of picks up on something that we discussed more so when we were discussing Goff and paid, like we did episodes like this. And they put out this post that said, Lions news, metric shows Jared Goff was nearly the most clutch quarterback in 2023. Now, they didn't make this metric or come up with this like math equation. This person, Carter Donick, did. And he took it, I guess, from Sports Info Solutions, which we dove into with the draft video, which I've done work for Sports Info Solutions. So shout out to Sports Info Solutions. All right. We do some work over there. That being said, though, so what they did was, and you can see it right here, I guess this was how we came up with this clutch score. I want to start with that. I think this is a good way to get this thing started. It's just a fun little thing to look at, okay? We're not going to revisit the Lamar Goff thing, okay? People are not feeling that, but some of the comments we're getting into it. I need to back out because, like, yo, I'm going to get too heated over something that's really not that serious because that wasn't my argument to begin with. But anyways, what they did was doesn't reveal his full methodology. However, he claims he collected 22 different quarterback stats for two situations, 3rd and 4th downs in games where the score is within 14 points and also any down in the fourth quarter when the score was within 10 points. Okay, and then when he combining all of these statistics in those situations, Goff came out as the second best clutch scorer. By the way, if you guys saw any of the editing stuff, like the shorts or whatever I was posting, that's like a software that does the words. So I'm not actually doing that, which is why it says golf, like the sport, over and over. I apologize. Hey, I don't know. If I say Jared Goff, it's good. If I say golf, it says golf, which I probably pronounce it like golf a lot of times, so that's probably on me. But y'all know what it's talking about. I think the defense will be top 12. Top 12 in what, Scott? But I'm with you. Top 12 is a very reasonable bar to hit, very reasonable across the board. I like that. Okay, we've improved in points per games every year. We've improved in a lot of areas pretty much every year with Aaron Glenn. And I think, I mean, I could be wrong. It always feels like you get better, which is the difficult part of this. But it's very difficult for me to look at the depth chart defensively and say that it doesn't feel objectively a lot better, especially in where our weakest spots were. That being said, though, I think there are points that you could say, well, if everything went wrong or if this didn't work out, like there's depth positions where you could have question marks. But I think especially for the starters, objectively, it looks a lot better than it has over the last couple of years. So this was the ranking thing. And then over here, I'll show you guys the Twitter post or the X post. I call it. Is it pronounced X or is it like the sound an X makes? You know what I mean? Like that's a question that I don't think anybody's addressed. Okay, is it X or is it? What was that? Is that what an X? Okay, stop. This was the thing. Jared Goff second in clutch score. It looks like by this little metric thing, there's a nice little gap there between him and Stroud. Stroud was awesome. The one game that comes to mind was that Cleveland? No, that wasn't Cleveland. Who was that? That was against Baker, so that would have been Tampa Bay. That was an awesome game they had last season. I remember rewatching that. Like, this is insane. This dude's a rookie. Anyways, CJ Stroud's up there. They have Hurts at 4, Jordan Love at 5, Baker at 6. We see you, Baker. Hey, Baker doing work in the clutch. Hey, you want Baker. Patrick Mahomes at 9, Herbert at 7, Kirk 9, 10, Josh. Okay, I don't think there's any shocks here. Stafford's at 15, but he did miss some time. Anyways, the point is Goff's at 2. So if you take this. Now, I bring this up because there's also this little graphic that I had made. Let me get the right page here. And then again, we're going to get into the kind of the main topics of the video, but I had a graphic. I wrote down the page numbers. Let me go to the right page numbers. 174. Okay. So I made a graphic back. We were talking about paying Goff, that kind of thing. And it was partially, there was some clutch things that I threw in there. Like, I felt that statistically speaking, he's been very clutch. He's been big time for us in like 2-minute drills, those kind of things. He does it his own way, but he's been good. He's been successful, I should say. I would say he's been successful, 2-minute drills, those types of situations. Now, this wouldn't exactly be that. I think this is just like the numbers from last season using Pro Football Focus, grade when kept clean, stats under pressure, play action versus non-play action, which as you can see, a lot of pass attempts, non-play action. I bring that up because, again, that does tie into what we talked about in our last show. But specifically, there was this graphic here. Let me go to it. Oh, I should not be doing it like this. This is going to take a minute. Okay, no, I found it. It's not going to take that long. Last 2 minutes right here. So this is the one that I had that I had put together a while ago. And it kind of picks up from that little post right there, which was right in the middle. I didn't really dive into it, but I made note of it. And it was like, why pay golf? And I try to point out like specific games. Like, okay, maybe we didn't run well in this game. We won the game, or whatever it was. Like all these situations were unique. Or beating Minnesota, where in the past he had real issues against blitzing, getting blitzed every single play, basically, against that defensive coordinator. But in the middle, you can see last 2 minutes and a half in 2023, completed 65.5% of his passes, 6 touchdowns, no picks, 104 passer rating. And then the year before, 60% of his passes, 5 touchdowns, 1 pick, basically a 93 passer rating. So statistics were good there. Not always the most flashy, but it was effective. We were effective. Okay. And again, a lot of that is just checking the ball down, but it works. So I'll take it. So I thought that was a cool little thing that they put together that, hey, statistically, according to this guy's stats, one of the most clutch quarterback, according to SIS. And then here we go. Kind of ties all together. So I don't know. I just thought it was interesting. Stuff I thought was interesting. Thought we'd talk about it. That being said, if you look at the X emblem, it's actually just half of a Masonic square and compass. I don't even know what that is. Okay. Look at that. Learn something new every day. This is why we're here. We're here for that, actually. Happy birthday. The truth is your birthday. Officially turned 46. Guys, we need birthday cakes in the chat. I always ask for birthday cakes, but we truly need birthday cakes in the chat for this one. Let's get some birthday cakes in the chat for the truth. Shout to the truth, man. Appreciate you being here. Always being here, to be honest. Okay, so with that, let's get this thing started. Now, the breakout players isn't like a perfect list, to be honest with you, but there are clips. But I want to start with this mock draft. Let's have some fun, man. All right, let's do a darn mock draft for 2025. Now, this is through Pro Football Focus, and I'll be honest with you, I haven't watched every player or something like that. I'm not going to sit here and say I have, okay? I just got started to dive into this, but I thought it would be fun anyway. So there's a lot of players on here that I don't know really anything about, so I didn't draft them. There's that. But I went through multiple players that I did not draft as well. Like I went through different scenarios, those kind of things. And I think we can do this every week, maybe more than that. And, we can really expand upon that. We're just getting started here. And even the players that I took today, I still need to watch more of. But these were 2 guys that it was like immediate, like, yo, I like these dudes. Let's do it. Okay, so this is technically a 3-round mock draft, but you're going to see it doesn't end up actually that way. Plus, the other thing I will hit on is that these are like projected where you finish. They have us picking 27th. Now, I think that's projected, or that may be based on last year, actually. I think that's projected, though. Either way, it's not, obviously the season hasn't happened, so we don't know where teams are going to finish. Point is, the most realistic approach would have been picking at 32. But we didn't do that, okay? That would have been most realistic, but we didn't do that. We're picking at 27. That's where our picks are. So I'm just going to spoil it, okay? I'm just going to spoil it and throw the graphic on the screen because I saved it as a singular graphic. So I'm just going to spoil the picks that we made. So we pick at 27. Let me give you the original picks. Let me give you the rundown of what Pro Football Focus has. They have us at 27, 59, 91. Okay, in a 3-round mock draft, so those will be our 3 picks. And then after that, 127, 128, 186, 239, and 241. I think that's accurate. So that's the picks that we have. Here's what we end up with. It's the 3-round mock, so we should have 3 picks. But we end up not having 3 picks, and that's because I made a move. So let me pop that on the screen. This is our first official Lions 2025 mock draft. I don't know what we're doing, but we're here. Bam! You can't see me anymore. Great. Okay. This was unplanned here. I'm not going to lie. Didn't think this through. Yeah. Didn't think this through at all, to be honest with you. I may have to move my camera. Okay, well, you can just... This looks kind of nice, honestly. Okay, you can hear me. That's what matters. Here is your first official Lions mock draft. Now, we made some moves, all right? I told myself, like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't do anything, right? Like, I should just stand pat. Let's not move around the board. It's the first mock... We can't move the board. Well, I did. You know why? Because it's a mock draft. It's fun. That's what I like doing. So we moved around the board. And it was specifically a monster trade up that I made. But also, I feel like there's truth to this in the fact that I'm gonna change the layout so you guys can actually see more than this. But the actual truth to this is that after Brad Holmes last season, kind of just ending the draft in the 6th round with the Christian Mahogany pick, and he kind of laid it out, if I remember correctly, like, we don't necessarily need all of these draft picks, right? Because the floor has been raised so much. It's going to be difficult to just make the team. It's got to walk away with the best players. And that was kind of my focus, man. So I felt fine with doing this. I'm going to share it actually like this real fast. That way, what is that? What is this? Okay, I don't know what this is. I'm going to share it like this. That way it looks a little bit easier to follow. So what? We can, okay, guys, we're maneuvering right now. Hold up. Okay, see, now we're working. Okay, so this is the mock. I'm still here. We're back. Okay, I couldn't see anything. I couldn't, we're back. So we start off at pick 27, not moving. We're just chilling. Okay, this is where they put us. And I'm going to go offensive line. Now, I feel like the obvious issue with this is we don't know how anything's going to transpire. We don't know who's going to show up this year. We don't know who's not going to show up this year. We don't know who's going to be re-signed, all of those things. So we don't know what the needs are going to be. So I try to take that into account and say, okay, I don't know what the needs are going to be. Now, I can project. I think safely you could say you're probably going to need an offensive lineman. Maybe they address that through free agency, just re-sign the guys. Maybe Taylor Decker gets re-signed and Frank Ragnall's like, yo, I want to play a little bit longer, whatever that may be. And your young guys step up. Manu's ready to take over. Mahogany maybe plays a role. Graham Glasgow kicks the center, something like that. And you don't need an offensive lineman. But I would say safely, probably the easiest position to point to and say the Lions will probably need this. Now, I could say that with other positions like receiver, and we're going to have more mocks. So trust me, this isn't like, hey, we're done. Okay, 2025, here we go. But this was an easy one to make sense of. At the same time, he was the guy that popped. I went through like 6 offensive linemen for this one, not like a full deep dive, but watching multiple games. This was the guy that popped. I felt really good about making this pick. This was a right tackle / right guard, though they have him listed as center. Maybe he could play center. I don't know if that's in his background. Maybe he did that a little bit in high school. He's a 3-star recruit, but really and I'll show you some of the clips. What stood out is the athlete that you're getting here. Like this is a big time athlete. I think he may look more like a guard just because he's not as like oily as you would think from an offensive tackle. Just kind of that flexibility you would normally point to being an offensive tackle. And, some of the power that's lacking a little bit. Like, here's the thing we also have to keep in mind. This is not a finished player. Some of these guys may not come out for the draft, but there's things that they have to improve upon. I mean, you get that with draft picks anyway. There's things that you're like, yo, I would love to see this next season. So I try to keep that in mind too. Is like, you're not drafting him at this state, but I think there's a lot you can build on. I'm going to talk about the safety because the safety was the player that connected the fastest with me. Like that was the player that I was sold on. I was like, I'm drafting him no matter what. It's who am I taking first? Like I got to that point, and that's why I made the monster trade. Okay, if I didn't feel like that, I wouldn't have made the trade. So I'm going to show some clips. Then we'll move to the safety, but I want to show you a few clips about our first pick where we go offensive line. Can I pop that on the screen? Bam. Now, the quality is absolute garbage. Apologize. I'm trying to figure out my film thing. I'm going to get that figured out in the background. But you love the pad level that he plays with. Okay, now you see issues, and this is one thing that constantly pops up top of the pass rush. This is against Latu, top pass rusher in this year's draft. So that's understandable a little bit, like we get that. I have the notes on the player, but the thing is I think the ways that he loses, there's ways where you could look at it and say, this may not ever get great. Maybe it is more of a guard fit, and that's fine. But I also think when you see the hand usage, right, you see the craftiness. I see a guy that can play guard. I see the explosives out of the stamps. I see the movement up to the second level. Like this guy could absolutely stick at guard. You still do see a lot of good at right tackle. It's just Latu gave him some problems when he was sitting at right tackle. But you still do see a lot of good there. Great burst into the second level, as I touched on. You see the recovery, that ability to kind of mirror, like here at the bottom of the screen. And actually, this is one of those punches that I like. This wasn't the mirror, but this is one of those punches right here. Boom, he's firm at the point of attack, dealing with blitzers. I didn't get my biggest issues were I didn't see the overwhelming power. I didn't see some of the nasty finishing. And I also, didn't see some of the natural flexibility that I would typically point to an offensive tackle. So that may not be his role down the road, but it's like this, that mirror ability, that short area quickness, those kind of things. And then here flying up into the second level, which we see with our offensive linemen as well. We always love that, those athletes that get out easily as pullers. So I'm going with my man's last name that I cannot pronounce, but it's Jonah Savania. I think that's how you actually pronounce it. Hold up, I might have nailed that. Jonah Savania is our first pick out of Arizona here. There's content out there you could find on him as well. We could talk about him more. I got more notes than that, but that's going to be our first pick in this year's mock draft. The second pick is the safety. Now, before we get into showing the safety, let me catch you all up to speed on what the trade was. So we came in with 59 and 91. So I would have had a long wait. So basically what I did with this trade is I essentially swapped second round picks with the Giants. So I went from 59 to 37, which is a massive jump. And we also swapped fourth round picks. So I went from 128 to 146. Now we still hold 127. So I didn't need back-to-back picks. At least according to PFF, we do. And essentially what I then gave up was our 3rd round pick 91. I felt fine with that based on the player that I'm getting so far. So that's the trade that we made. By the trade value chart, we technically win this. Not by a ton, but we actually win the value of this trade if this was a trade that the Lions made by like 60 points. I think it was 60, 70. PFF said it was like a 50% chance to accept it. I was like, all right, I'll try it. They accepted it, so that's awesome. Plus, I think also it's more about the players than really where you're taking them at this point, because it's going to be difficult. I don't think we are getting any comp picks. I don't think we are. But did we know that already? I don't think we are. I didn't hear anything about it. If I would have heard something, I would have probably discussed it by now. But I don't think so. Unless we just didn't hear anything about it yet. But I don't believe so. I don't think so. But yeah, so that's the trade that we make. I think it's more about the player than the position at this point, because these guys are going to move around. I mean, this guy may not even be this high of a pick. I don't know. He may not get drafted. I would assume he does. But also, so these are both juniors, so he's going into a senior season. We also know with Iowa guys, right? One, usually it makes a ton of sense to take an Iowa guy, especially on the defense side, because the defense has been awesome over the last couple seasons, especially with a terrible offense. But also, we know those guys usually don't start. So to be there for 2 seasons, 2022, he actually did start at safety in their bowl game against Kentucky. He came up with an interception, started this past season as a strong safety for Iowa. And even though his statistics aren't crazy, he's 6 foot 210. He's a junior, has a touchdown, 1 interception, 1 sack, 3 pass breakups. And as my man said, you got to talk us through this. So the fit, there's obviously going to be like, okay, how does this work? Part of me was like, well, maybe I should consider corner. Like if it was a great corner, consider that, because maybe I just make Brian Branch full-time safety. I think he can play safety like that. But I just wanted to take the best player that I've seen so far, and I absolutely love watching this guy. Now, he said that his favorite team growing up was Cam Chancellor, or his favorite team was Seattle Seahawks. He loved Cam Chancellor. You see that physicality. I love that. Still think tackling wise, though, got to be more consistent. Like it's very inconsistent as a tackler, but he's very physical, but it's movement. So he's that strong safety that likes to play in the box, short yardage, movement skills, but you see it as a deep safety too. The length is obviously there. We saw flashes of ball skills. We saw the interception to open the season, the one that he did have against Utah State, which was beautiful as a single high safety. But I just love the movement, and you can see it like right there at the top. So he's number 1. You can see it at the top here on this break. He gets ahead of route breaks consistently like that. He plays through guys in coverage with his eyes. You can see him there. He's always around the football when the ball goes in the air. That's what you get here on the slot receiver. You can see him, again, playing through coverage, passing things off. Now you're going to see an ugly tackle here. All right, that's an ugly tackle. But love how fast he gets to the football. He has good movement speed. Like right here when this tight end goes into this break, look how he like beats him to the break right here. Boom. He beats him to it. He's on top of the route. He reads vision really well. Quarterback, seeing ball and man. I just get the sense he almost looks like a corner at times watching him play safety, but I don't lose any of the physicality that certain safeties may give me. Obviously, I get all the size there as well. You'll get routes like that where he forces them to go elsewhere just because he's diving and taking away the route. There he is over the middle of the field, tipping it up in the air. I think there's a lot of flexibility and alignments that you put him in, right? What you ask of him, there he is playing through multiple guys in coverage. And then here's a hit to kind of wrap it all up. And that's the physicality they bring. He's really willing to go down and hit somebody. So to me, what's the fit? I don't know exactly. I mean, I guess if it was like what we've seen so far, I would just put Branch in the slot and let him stay there. Make this my safety. Who is he replacing? I don't know. If he's on the final year of his contract, Kirby's still here. I think he'd mesh really well with a guy like Kirby Joseph, but I also think if he was awesome last season, we just have to see it. So we have to see it again this year so we can get an extension if that's going to be the case. If it's not the case, they want to save some money there. This could be an option, obviously. And then I think Kirby Joseph has to prove it too, because Kirby, even though he missed a lot of last season, didn't see exactly what we saw in the rookie year, which was awesome. So both of those guys have things to prove. You also no longer have guys like CD Deuce. Now we're seeing Brandon Joseph. I'm excited for Brandon Joseph. Think he could mean a lot this year, but we've made it work with a lot of depth at that position. You can make it work, especially with a player like this, right? That's physical, that's long, can play in the box. Like you can make this guy work defensively. So I don't know the exact fit, but I like it. I like it defensively. I love that idea of like, yo, put this guy with Kirby, and if he let those guys rotate, bam, now Branch sticks at, like, you just get the best on the field in the back end. And we went from really struggling with coverage pieces to all of a sudden this offseason, we addressed it big time. Carlton Davis may only be here for a season, right? So it could be heck, Rakestraw could start out wide. I don't know. We'll see, right? Meek's got 1 year left on his deal after this season. So there's movement for guys to step in and find and work out roles. So this, I think, gives you more flexibility there. And obviously the first pick is really just addressing offensive line, giving us a guy that can plug in and start, play through the offensive line, good size, 6'5", 330, with also being a great athlete. And that's the thing that you struggle with is a lot of these guys, like, you struggle with it if you don't go high in the draft. It's kind of like why the Manu thing was the thing, because it's like, where did this guy play college? He looks pretty rough at tackle, but he's big and he's athletic. And that's just hard to find dudes that move like that, at that size. So to get that in the first round, I was fine with taking that. You're a day one starter. I mean, at that point, right, if you made that draft pick, say he just became a starter, even if he wasn't great right away, if he just became a starter, your entire offensive line could potentially be made up of almost all draft picks, right? I would assume Graham Glasgow would stay, he played somewhere, and then you would have, you would also have then Penei Sewell. We'll see on Frank Ragnow. You could have one of your guards, so maybe both of your guards step in. You could have your new draft pick. So 4 of your 5 offensive linemen could be all draft picks. And as we talked about in the first podcast or DODcast episode that we did, teams do that, right? We've seen teams build through the draft like that. So I don't have a problem going offensive line first. It just matters so much for us. What do you think about Graham and his partner of destruction? So I haven't watched his partner that much, to be honest with you. I didn't know that was like a big name, honestly, until I started looking into this. But I think Graham's going to go extremely high. Mason Graham was amazing last season. I don't know if he would even be in consideration at 27. I don't think he would be. I think you would have to make a big jump up. I'm not against doing that. I mean, I think interior defense line was definitely one of those positions I kind of worked through. We're about to talk about a couple of our interior defensive linemen, or at least one of them. You guys may have pointed to that in the chat, but I don't have an issue with it. I think Aleem ultimately gets extended. I just can't see a world in which we just let him go. Like, I understand he's going to cost some money, but I just don't see a world in where that's going to happen. I wouldn't have an issue with it though. I think he's going to go very high, because I think he's played a level where he's like a very high draft pick already. And now you put together another season. I mean, if he just builds on what he's done, he's going to be extremely high draft pick. So I don't think he'll be anywhere near this range. Actually, Pro Football Focus has him going like 1 and 2 over and over. They keep taking him at the top of the draft. So through the simulator, there was no shot I was going to be able to get him. But if somehow we did, I mean, I'm on board with it. From what I've seen so far, I'm on board with it. So there we go. That's your Lions mock draft for 2025. Way too early. I like it. I saw Harbaugh quarterback as a kid at my first game. You saw Harbaugh quarterback as a kid at your first game. Dang, okay. Yo, that's kind of crazy. Aleem and Levi will be extended. Yeah, Levi's the proven guy. I don't think there's any question about Aleem. I just don't see how he doesn't. Levi for 2 years. Levi's going to have to put it together this year for sure. Because then you would have DJ Reader. If that's the case, it'd be great, because you'd have your front four locked. I mean, you have your rotation locked in, right? You'd have DJ Reader still for another season. You want to keep him around. And then you could go with another veteran, like a guy like Pecco or something that we had at this offseason. But Broderick Martin would still be in that mix. You'd have your entire interior defense line loaded. You wouldn't even have to touch it, which is ideal, because then you still throw Josh Pascal in that mix. And if he's the guy that takes a step, which we're about to talk about as well, your entire front will be kind of locked in with your draft picks. That'd be ideal. It means you hit on a lot of guys in the draft. You're also saving a lot of money there too. So this next segment, which is the other title of the video, which is Lions Breakout Defenders 2024. This is not what my plan was coming into this. Also before, because I think at 30 minutes is going to cut for a second. We're going to do more of these mocks if y'all want to see them. I also consider going other routes, like going with an edge rusher. There's an edge rusher I really like. I won't say his name, but I'm going to save it in case we do another one. I may take him. I also consider receiver pretty heavily. I will say that Trey Harris out of Ole Miss. I love me some Trey Harris. I think receiver could be really interesting. I really didn't, because I don't think the Lions may be valued as much as maybe, other teams would. But he would be another guy I'd really consider, just because I really like him so far from what I've seen. He had almost 1,000 yards last season, probably in for a big breakout season. He'll probably have insane production this year. Like usually top receivers do, probably go for like 1,800 yards or something like that. So definitely thought of a lot of different things. Really outside of quarterback, I was open to doing anything. All right. Now we're going to move over to the next subject. I'm going to lay out what we're going to do before it cuts here for a second. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through breakout defenders. I came into this saying I was going to do like the players that people aren't talking about. So I think Nite Mutai was brought up in one of our past streams. And I was like, oh, that'd be fun. We should talk about guys like that. That's not my plan to do. But that's not this one, because I just didn't get to it, to be honest. So I want to talk about guys like that, like Antoine Green. We're going to do it. We are. But this turned into more so me kind of just watching guys that had more film with the Lions and then just saying, okay, could these guys actually be these are the guys that need to break out. Now, there's other players that we'll discuss that don't have video clips in this video, but it also kind of ties into, which is something that everybody talks about in the offseason, training camp battles, offseason battles. Like, the battle here is going to be incredible. And I think some of these battles are maybe to make the team, but mostly who's just going to get snaps. I mean, we're loaded in certain spots on this defense line just in terms of depth. Who is going to get snaps? That's the real battle that I see here. So I'm going to get those clips pulled up. We're going to roll into that. I think it's going to cut. YouTube said it was playing ads every 30 minutes. So I think there's going to be an ad for a couple seconds. So you guys can skip that, obviously. But I'm going to give that a second. we're going to dive into this thing. I honestly believe that Pascal will have a breakout season watching him when he was in college. This is the time to do it. I mean, it's the time to have that breakout season, man. The opportunity is going to be there for him, but also what we're seeing is that room is one of the most loaded in terms of depth. Like, his role is extremely, it's a very deep role that he's trying to play, right? When you have Mekhi Wingo now entering, who I think can do a lot of similar things. It sounds like that's where the Lions like him. Mekhi Wingo now entering. Ideally, Josh Pascal does break out. He plays the majority of your reps. He pushes a guy like Marcus Davenport for snaps on 4-man fronts. Him and Wingo become a rotation for the future. That would be ideal. I think that's what you're looking for. But I still believe that Josh Pascal is one of the most overlooked players. When I came into this trying to just talk about overlooked guys, Josh Pascal is one of the guys I was going to discuss because I still feel like he gets so overlooked. We talk about Marcus Davenport. Obviously, I hype up Marcus Davenport, so I'm part of the problem. But we hype up certain guys. We don't give enough attention to what Josh Pascal is going to mean because he's on the field a ton. Like, the guy's on the field a ton. He basically became the starter over John Kaminsky last year. I assume that's going to continue this year. He's going to take a lot of snaps. Like, Marcus Davenport, I don't really see, I could be wrong, don't see him playing 50 snaps a game, even if he's healthy. He'll be a rotational pass rusher. He adds that flexibility, so Pascal's not playing up to his standard. They could sub him in for him. But Pascal has played a ton. He's played on the interior. He's played on the outside. He's going to see the field a ton, and he still is that presence on pass downs. Now, I think Pascal honestly he's going to get a lot of competition, which could be overlooked. Is not only is he going to get competition for guys like Mekhi Wingo that can play a similar position, but guys like Matthew Betts. Like, if Matthew Betts makes the team, I think a guy like that's going to push him because on pass downs, you're constantly going to push Pascal inside. You don't like to use him on the edge a ton. He's going to go work on the interior. He's going to slant rush games. I think Betts is going to have his most success as an interior rusher on sub packages, even though, he was an edge. I think that's where he's going to have his most success based on the breakdown we did. That's going to be a big competition for him too, is just finding who gets snaps. That defensive line is in that mix right now where it's who can get snaps. You remember back to last year, right? Levi was a healthy scratch at times last season for multiple games during the middle of the season. So that's where we're at. I don't think it's about who's going to make the team as much as it's about how do these guys see the field, who's going to emerge there, which means you're probably going to do it early. Like, early in the season, you got to show what you're about early because Lions know what Davenport's about when he's out there. They already know what he's about. So you got to pull that guy off the field somehow, right? They know what Kaminsky's about. Those young guys got to get these guys off the field. So that's going to be the challenge early, is for them to show up. Now, I don't have a great order for this, but I believe the first player we're talking about is Josh Pascal, which we might as well. We've just been talking about him. The reality is that someone or maybe multiple guys don't make the squad because we keep getting better. Who's going to get shown the door? Can't keep them all. I don't know. I guess it depends. Like, we did a 53 on Bleacher Report, and I didn't cut any of those guys that I just discussed because I think they're all going to make it. I think a competition that's going to be interesting is when you look at the defensive line. Kyle Pecco could be out easily just by looking at his contract. The Lions feel good about Levi. He could be someone they move off of, knowing, having that connection with him. Maybe down the road they bring him back. I think that could easily happen, but I don't see Wingo getting cut. Josh Pascal's not going to get cut. I think the one shock that I brought up in the Bleacher Report stream was John Kaminsky. John Kaminsky could be the surprise cut because he's already taken a pay cut. And if Mekhi Wingo shows like, hey, he can get snaps early, he's a guy that just because of the position that he plays could be in a weird spot trying to find a role. I don't think they want to cut him. They could have done that this offseason. They decided not to. They just got a deal done with a pay cut. I don't think they want to, but there's real flexibility to do so. So if something did surprise, that would probably be the one guy I'd point to, but I don't think any of the guys under rookie deals are going to be out. I don't think that's going to happen. And I really don't think they're going to move off of John Kaminsky, but he'd be the one that I'd circle there. So we'll start with Josh Pascal first. Didn't Campbell say that we're having Betts working in coverage? I think so. I think he did. Oh yeah, he did. I did see that interview. And he did that at college. Like Dan Campbell brought up is like, he didn't see that in college. He was doing that at college. He showed the movement ability. So I was a little bit surprised they didn't, that he felt surprised by that, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I was just like, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, I saw, he was doing that in college, but yeah, so that would point to kind of that role of like the James Houston, the Derek Barnes, which we're going to discuss a little bit here as well in this one. But I look at that as, how are they going to play the role? Because a guy like Marcus Davenport, right? Like, when you look at it, Pascal gets the same amount of snaps. He's playing a high rate like he did last season. Like, guys like Davenport, guys like Matthew Betts are going to have to be flexible because it's going to be hard to find a role. And I think Betts, what they like about Betts is that he gives us a little bit something unique that we don't have. But like, a ton of our guys can step in and rush in the interior. Marcus Davenport did it a ton with New Orleans. But guys that can also rush the edge, Betts can do that. And athletically can drop into coverage. Like, right now, it was kind of a James Houston, who was like perfect for that category, right? Because he can pass rush at a high level, still does it at a much higher level, in my opinion, than Derek Barnes. He only had 2 pressures last year, didn't play much though, played Kansas City a little bit after that, came back for the conference championship. Derek Barnes went out, played 7 snaps, he played 11. Just didn't see much of him last year, but the year before, as we all know, 17 pressures and a handful of games. He's an elite pass rusher. He's capable of being an elite pass rusher. So he was perfect for that role because majority of the time teams are going to throw. He's great at it. He's athletic enough to drop into coverage. His run defense was shaky, but if you can make that work, you're fine there. But then Derek Barnes kind of stepped into that role ultimately after Jack Campbell was trying to do it. And I think the reason for that is, if you remember, at the beginning of the season, it was Derek Barnes who was playing a lot as an off-ball linebacker. He was playing like where Jalen is here and Alex is here. But as the season went on and Jack Campbell started to roll into these roles more, that's when Derek Barnes had to find a spot. So they pushed him down to Sam backer, which is what James Houston was playing, which was perfect because we didn't have James Houston available. So I think it's going to really be an interesting battle there because that could be direct competition, those two against each other. I don't think Barnes isn't going anywhere on the final year of his contract. James Houston could, but I still don't see it. Like, I just don't see it if he's healthy, how he would get knocked out of the roster. Maybe you could say that there's a direct battle between him and Matthew Betts. I just think Betts is a better interior rusher at the next level than on the outside, and James Houston specializes as an outside rusher. And I think when you move off of Charles Harris, when you move off of Romeo Okwara, guys that played that role, Josh Pascal's not great on the edge. John Kaminsky's not great on the edge. Like, they collapse the pocket. Davenport gives you something there. I just feel like it's hard to get rid of a guy that's so unique in the sense that he gives you a completely different element as a pass rusher. Now, I know it sounds like Aaron Glenn maybe doesn't value that as much as like the guys that collapse the pocket and play through offensive tackles and they win with physicality. That's the guys that they like. But James Houston's unique, man. There's a unique rusher to this team. It's like the one receiver that brings just a completely different, or the one running back that's like, man, he can catch the football. That guy changes everything. It's hard to move off that guy because he's just so different than everybody else that we have, to me. But Josh Pascal last season, now he's going into year 3, right? 2022. Yeah, he's going into year 3, and we haven't seen a ton of Josh. I mean, weirdly enough, he's played like a year and a half for us, but last season, as we touched on, he played a ton for us, and the Lions adding Wingo to that mix just added more bodies to that. Last season, 19 pressures on a 5.7% pass rush rate versus his pass rush snaps. So that's not fantastic. 15 run stops. He was much better against the run last season. We're going to show some clips here. I'll talk through it. Could Houston be an effective linebacker? Or not just a pass rush specialist, or is that enough? I think he can be effective in the Sam role. I don't think he'd be great as an off-ball linebacker because the stack and shed, the build, it just doesn't. It's part of the reason he struggles as a run defender there against tight ends. But I think he can be effective because, to me, he moves better than Derek Barnes in coverage. I mean, now I may need to go watch every stat from last year to really say that like confidently. I think he moves better in coverage than Derek Barnes. Now, Barnes, his biggest benefit is that he brought that along, right? It went from parts of the season where I'm like, yo, what is he doing on the line of scrimmage, to by the end of the season, he's picking off Tampa Bay, stealing the game from that position, drop out on the coverage. I think movement skills lean James Houston still. And we got to remember, he was a off-ball linebacker with Florida before he went to Jackson State. But Derek Barnes pulled it together in terms of just consistency there, and I think that was big. And Derek Barnes also is a better run defender there. He's not perfect either, right? You'll see issues at times dealing with blocks, but he's a better run defender there. We know he plays with his hair on fire all the time. He's just very aggressive. It's different. It's different stylistically. So I would almost point to maybe more of the battle being between him and Matthew Betts than him and Barnes, because Barnes has a role. Like, especially if they get creative with Rodriguez and like, yo, put him at fullback. Barnes has a role, even if that's a backup off-ball linebacker. Like, he's got a spot that he can find on this team. Maybe not as a starter, but he'll find a spot. James Houston, I don't think, has that as much. He's more so you kind of have to sandwich him into a Sam backer role if you want to play him on early downs, and you're doing that because he's such a good pass rusher when healthy. You just don't want to not have that guy. So even if he doesn't start there, if Derek Barnes does, you still want to have that guy, because to me, as much as Derek Barnes has shown strides to pass rusher, they're just not on the same level. Now they're different, definitely different. I mean, Derek Barnes will blitz from the inside. He's a blitzing linebacker from the interior. I mean, you're not going to do that with James Houston as much. He lives on the outside, but that's so unique to our roster that I just think there's a huge value in having that. There's value in having a guy that can rush on the edge. I don't want to move off those guys. I wouldn't want to move off those guys if I were the Lions, but obviously you have to prove you can do other things. I just think that we just don't have a lot of them. I don't want to move off those guys. But we'll start with Josh Pascal here. And some of these are going to kind of rotate between run defense, pass rush, and even on a play like this first play, right, where he's, outside shade of a guard, he's almost more in like a 4-eye, but he's in the street technique and first step on the play, like Aleem McNeil, falls behind the block. Now it works out here. He's chasing the quarterback. He plays with the high motor, and you'll see things like this where I don't think he's as fluid as a pass rusher. I think this is what hurts him at the edge. He's not super fluid. He's also not extremely sudden, I don't feel like, but he is explosive. You know that he's very powerful, plays with nice contact balance, specifically in the upper body, though he doesn't show some of that slither, which is why he pops on the ground right there. And then as a run defender, I think a lot of it comes back to his run defender, his pass rusher, hand usage. Like, we need more consistency, I think, in his hand usage. That's going to come from playing time. You see, obviously, the ability to get off the ball here on the backside against the tight end. Look at this. He launches in front of the tight end. You guys see him right here? He launches in front of the tight end. He's in the 6 technique, head up with the tight end. Boom, gets in front of him, cuts it off the backside, force a cutback lane. And then on the same play, you see Derek Barnes, right? Derek Barnes on the line of scrimmage, talking about that sandbacker roll, stepping down, dealing with the tight end. But what I love here is how he gets back over the block, fills inside, and then he's able to get back over the block. That's where Derek Barnes, to me, separates himself from James Houston, because he can do things like that. Even if it's not always perfect, he can still do things like that. You like that one-on-one matchup just a little bit more. Yo, what up, Charles? How you doing, Charles, man? Good to see you. So yeah, we're just going to bounce around here a little bit. Also, the other guy that I want to talk about, we're going to talk about a couple guys here. I'm just going to kind of do the little intro thing for him. We got to talk about Levi. So this is someone that kind of just, I didn't intend to talk about Levi, honestly, because I think we give Levi attention. I think we do. But I didn't intend to talk about this. That's why I changed the title to Breakout, because that wasn't the initial plan. However, as I was watching, I couldn't help but just sit there and be like, Levi don't look too bad here. He doesn't look bad here. And one thing that we talked about, we talked about this on Bleacher Report, because this report came out that he was like put on 20 pounds, got a lot stronger, and kind of like bulked up, I guess, a little bit. And we know that he's healthy. Essentially, again, missed a year and a half. Last season, he was a healthy scratch at times. It was taking a while to just get him on the field, because he wasn't at the spot where they felt comfortable with him being on the field. That being said, though, I love all the idea that he battled back. I mean, I love that. Like, the fact that he's out here right now competing is incredible through what he's gone through with the back injuries. That being said, though, I am so intrigued, enamored, I don't know what the right word is to express this properly, by the fact that a guy like this, reportedly, right, putting on weight, getting stronger, is kind of leaning into that. I may have talked about this over here before. I don't know if I did. Free Rad. Hey, you missed it, Giovanni. I'm going to try to get him on like Wednesdays. We're going to do just a quick update for anybody who's just joining. The plan going forward, I think, is like 3 streams a week, 2 in the morning, 1 a later stream, which will be the one that hopefully I can get Rad onto. But we've been talking, those streams could get a little bit versatile outside of just talking about the Lions. Did he have a bone? He did. He did have a bone, right? It was in his back. I was reading about this. It was in his back, right? So he's gone through it. But what I love is that, because, and I don't know if we talked about this over here, but I know I talked about it over there, so I'm just going to say it anyway. If you watch him play, I think that's where he's his most consistent. When he leans into the power and the physicality aspect of the game, that's where he's his best, especially as a pass rusher. Now, you still get issues against the run, and part of that hopefully can help him, right? Like, not getting washed out of plays like he does. But when you see him win specifically as a pass rusher, and you see it with the force that he plays with, when I watch him, like, a huge part of me is just like, yo, just play into that. And when you hear that report, it's like, that makes a ton of sense. If he leans into that being his strength, that's kind of weird, his strength being his strength, I think it's going to change the game for him. I really do. So here, like, you can see it. And I think, honestly, which is weird, is like moving laterally to his left looks a little more inconsistent than to his right for whatever reason. But it was like there's a real focus when you watched him, right? In the limited snaps you watched him, there seemed to be a real focus on, yo, not only we're trying to keep your pad level down, right off the snap, right? We don't want you to rise trying to get laterally, but also staying square to the line of scrimmage, which is an issue in college. And when you see reps like this, right, line up against this right tackle in this 4 technique, right, head up on this tackle, and you see him move laterally, stay square to the line of scrimmage, not pop up directly on the play, and you start to see some of those reps where he's able to handle and kind of sustain his gap. I was like, man, this is interesting. And the games where he had issues were when things would get wide, right, when they would kind of run away from him. San Fran, that's where he had some inconsistencies, like the agility there. But that was what stood on. We're going to have more clips. Here's Josh Pascal again, just showing more clips as a pass rusher. You see this, and this is where I talk about handy. There's a lot of, like, it feels like he's using his hands, but there's not really much of a plan there exactly. but you'll see it, like the contact balance they talk about there, the strong in his ankles to maintain balance as he continues to work the quarterback. Get a lot of those second effort wins as a pass rusher as well. Again, here on the backside, and he's pretty quick to recognize this. Like he's immediate. You see how fast he flies out of his stance to get back there on plays like that. But even a play like this, like you still give credit to Levi. This is the same thing. Look, so here on the right guard in that 3 technique, watch him maintain this. Right, he's playing square to the line, sits himself down, handles business. That's where he popped. The outside zones, playing on the front side. That's where I think they're going to want to lean into because he's a little bit skinny. If you notice in the lower body, he's not like thick, right? If you watch Josh Paschal, this dude is thick in the lower body. Just straight up, pause, whatever. He is, man. He's built in the lower body, so he's strong. He brings the bull rush. Levi's like built different. He's really strong in the upper body. You'll see those like big arm over moves that like nose tackles will do from a guy that's a defensive tackle, right? But when you look at him in the lower body, he's just not built like that. And, you know, like here, like falling on the ground on this play against the left guard. That's why I'm like, yo, maybe we can put on strength, play into it a little bit. You'll just get more consistency in what he does. Because he showed a lot of flashes as a pass rusher last year, even still. I don't even know what that was, to be honest. I think I was showing Derek Barnes there. Yo, how you feel? I'm feeling good, Boom. How are you, man? Full strength and recovered. Might be the guy they thought they were drafting. How cool would that be? It'd be amazing. Look, all they really, I mean, what they need with what they have, they just need a solid backup. Like, to be honest, like they don't even need that, right? They just need a rotational, solid backup that is going, and I look at it like this, just beat out Kyle Pecco. Beat out Kyle Pecco, who was inconsistent, but he's back with his defensive line coach. When he looked good, he looked really good. Beat that guy out for the rotational snaps. If you beat him out for the rotational snaps, we're in a good spot because he's built in a lot of ways to have the flexibility to play on the interior and play as a nose, play as a defense tackle, play as a 3 technique, move around the defensive line. He still carries a lot of that first step get off. You see it, right? Some of the quickness there and the ability to just cover depth. Here's that arm over move, just some of the strength that he has. But the weird build in the lower body leads to inconsistency. They're dealing with like the outside zones that kind of falling behind and things like that. There, again, you kind of see a little long arm getting some walk back. Now here you get sealed up a little bit, but I think I was trying to show someone different. Oh, this is Josh Paschal. So this is where I don't love Paschal in the interior, as you can see. I don't love Josh Paschal in the interior, but you might as well showcase a little bit of Derek Barnes doing some work because he does. Here's where Paschal's inconsistent. Back to hand usage. Like, he should be dominating tight ends because he honestly a lot of times looks like he sets better against offensive tackles than tight ends, where he sits himself down and he just halts them. But against tight ends, like dealing with the hand battles and things like that, it's like, yo, we got to get off these sheds quicker. There's too much of that where the shed's just a little bit late. What I like about Paschal, though, is there's a lot of awareness, right? It's consistent. He has a real feel for what's going on. It's why his vision is so good for quarterbacks because he plays with that consistent awareness. I love all those things. I think we see him right here again. Now watch him here against the left tackle. Boom, sit himself down. You see what I'm talking about? Like, he's built different. He was a leverage monster in college. He was a downhill, like, yo, slant him on the rush, let him bull rush people. I feel like he's really tried to add flexibility to that. He's an athlete, and you can just see it by how he pursues guys. Dude's an athlete. Like, you just watch him move around, but he's not as sudden, right? He's not as, like, twitchy when he feels like he's getting on an offensive lineman in here because those guys are so quick. Everything has to be quick there. Like, you have to be a super sudden there, right? And you just don't feel that consistently. But there's flashes of wins in there. But this is what you love. Like, they really just sit himself down, anchor down an edge. So capable of that. And those are the things that he's already brings. There's some of that walk back that you see. He's very capable of that as well. Again, you kind of see that long stride in the contact there. And then again, watch Levi, man. Like, this is where I'm excited. You see Levi here at that nose tackle position. Look at, stay on front of the guard, sit himself down, make a play on the football. Like, yo, Levi was so interesting. Like I said, I had no plan in actually talking about him today at all. But I couldn't help but walk away and be like, yo, I want to talk about this guy. Now, Garrett Stanford, and here's some of the inconsistencies, right? You see how he looks like he's standing up, right? Falling behind a little bit on this play. They kind of washed him out a little bit here. You get some inconsistent and then moving to his left as well. And then to wrap it up, the last guy I want to discuss, because, well, we already did it, James Houston. James Houston is, if you look at all of these guys, right, you have Levi who's going into year 4, but essentially, if you just go by the time he's missed, it's basically year 2.5. So he's kind of going into year 3, which is like that breakout year a lot of time. Josh Paschal is going into year 3. And again, he missed a lot of his first season. He missed he missed a lot of, he didn't miss the entire first season. Derek Barnes going into year 4. But I think what Derek Barnes is unique is not about missed time, even though he's missed some. It's about the fact that he's played everywhere. It's like now he's playing on a line. He's got this sandbacker role figured out. and we start to see the coverage consistency, you see that aggressive demeanor. I think it suits him better at the line of scrimmage. But it was like, hey, when teams would go read option, or anytime you had like a lot of movement in the backfield, you get inconsistencies. Like, where's he going, man? It's like, I don't know what he's doing. Things are happening too fast. As soon as that settled in, that's kind of his role. Like, he's kind of put himself into that spot. But I still don't overlook James Houston, because even if you look at last season, you still see capabilities as a pass rusher. You would still see that when you would watch him. And for me, it's that change of speed. It's that change of speed that he put. We know the bend is freakish. I love the vision. Let's also talk about that awareness of Pascal. He just finds the football. Like, that's what he does. He plays with his hair on fire. But I think there's another play with Josh Pascal right here. That awareness. You see what I'm saying? Like, this was a great play in what is this? End around here, a little end around here. It's a great play in the conference championship. Discipline, handles business. He had a lot of plays like that, right? He would consistently get in his face. He just wasn't always athletic enough to make the play. But I think he's a good enough athlete to open up more as a pass rusher. They're just trying to maybe dial in some of the technique consistencies. Again, look, Levi here on the backside, staying square to the line, handling the right tackle first, then working back down the line, trying to get in a tackle there. Levi, it was weird. It's been a very weird start, but this is what we saw in week 1, and this is what I'm talking about. This is playing into his strength, right? The push-pull, which he loves, which plays into the depth that he covers off the ground, the quickness, push-pull, core strength, bam, right there. And then he's also stays on his feet really well for a guy at his size. Stays on his feet really well. Like, he's like a weirdish build that works really well for a pass rusher. And honestly, here's the thing that stuck out to me real quick on this before this video wraps. James Houston, I didn't realize how much help he was actually having to deal with. Like, the amount of help this guy, now I get it, Kansas City's tackles aren't the best. But I was just watching back for Kansas City, and I was like, yo, they're throwing a lot of bodies James Houston's way. It's about opening players. He just gets attention. I mean, he obviously was coming off a great season, but you start a tight end in line, then you send over a running back to chip him. I mean, this was every play. And then now he has to deal with the tackle. He got a lot of attention in that game. And it was weird in the preseason, right? It's like, man, is he going to make the team? Here's the coverage athlete that he is, right? Dropping into coverage, easy getting depth. Again, that's his background is playing off ball, so that's kind of normal to him. Again, he has to deal with another body before he gets to the tackle here. Can wrap the edge, as we see. James Houston, to me, like, I say breakout, even though, honestly, his first year was his breakout, but him, it's about being on the field. Josh Pascal's breakout, I think he's going to be on the field. He's going to have competition from certain new additions, but he's going to be on the field to me, because last year he kind of became the guy. It's about like dialing in consistency. Can we open up more of a variety of pass rush moves? Your hand usage, more as a run pass rusher and as a run defender, can we make that more consistent? Can you get a little more sudden? There's craftiness. Like, you'll see versatility, like where he'll try different things. He'll try the skip through, like he'll try different things as a pass rusher. But if we can dial in some of the technique things, get off of blocks faster, you got a lot of the things that we already expected coming out of the draft. And that's the real positive, is what we loved about him coming off the draft has already shown up. That's already there. Like, it's not like, oh, he's not doing what we thought he would do. It's just about like developing. And I think for him personally, it's just about time. It's just simply time. Going into year 3, missing a lot of year 1. He has not played a lot of football. It's just time. He is stepping into breakout season. That's what he's at. And then Levi, it's like, hey, you're kind of out of time. But not really, because your opportunity's there. You're not going to be a starter. That's great. Be a rotational guy. Beat out Pecco for the rotational role, because even though it was like hard to see last year, the healthy scratch, it could be good for him, because like they need that consistency. It's why Broderick, we saw him and they were just like, yeah, we're not going to see that again. They were just like, nope, he ain't there yet. And it's like, all right, that's fine. That is okay. It's definitely fine with Broderick because of, where he's at contract wise. For Levi though, it's like, now is that time. But I think last year he showed enough where it's inconsistencies, but there's enough that they can lean into where if they just put on that muscle and they say, play into your strength, man. You're explosive, you're powerful, just kind of bully guys a little bit. You still have some of the nimbleness in the lower body. We just need you more consistent against the run. If we can dial those things in, like, dude, you flashed last year. Even when it doesn't look pretty, you can still get after the quarterback. It's like Levi, or it's like Marcus in a sense in that way. So I think these are the guys, because they're all lined up to do it. This is their time to do it. They're going to do it. When Pascal uses great technique, he's super quick at times, gets clean into play and wrecks it. Levi shows great pad height. Am I right? I think Levi really focused on that. I thought last season it was a real fun. Now, there were times where I didn't love it, right? I mean, there were times where, like I talked about, like moving laterally, where it felt like he would just stand straight up, or like if you wanted to get out quicker, or he'd get off slow because of that. And it was almost like trying to work. There was also a lot of narrowness where, like, through a block, he wouldn't stay down, and you start to see his feet kind of get tight together like this. And then it was like, okay, you're no longer playing through a gap. You're just sitting in a gap. Like that whole gap and a half idea, like I'm going to push you into that other gap. That kind of just didn't become a thing because he would just get kind of narrow straight up. And then he was just kind of standing in his spot. Like those kind of things are going to want to dial in. But he also has a weird build for that. But I think you just, hey, we're consistent. We got to keep you down, keep you square. You keep dialing that aspect of it. Now you think you have the best defense line coach. Hopefully he helps him. But it's also just getting naturally stronger. Like they could help him. He could help himself, I believe, just by naturally being bigger and stronger than having to at times like kind of do a lot. You have to do a lot technically right to be able to stick in the inside. You still do. But if you just put in a little more natural power and natural build, I think it'll help him a little bit, kind of ease being perfect all the time and what he's kind of working through right now. So I think it's one of the most underrated things I've heard anybody talk about. But when I saw the report that he's putting on weight, like that needs to get attention. Because I think that could be massive for him. It's not about like cutting or becoming like some freak or something. Just like, yo, fit into what you're doing well, and let's make this thing work. Because I think he can. I keep hearing Wingo has DT, DN versatility. How much DN will Wingo really see? 20% of snaps? So the problem with that is if he wants to see this field this year, DT versatility is going to have to be huge. Because that's what he did at LSU. He's going to have to give interior pass rush. It's going to be hard, as we touched on, unless a guy like Kaminsky surprises us and gets cut. And it's like, okay, now there's actually a rotational role here. Unless that happens, I think it's going to be difficult for him to see the field. But I think the Lions are okay with that. I actually think he's going to play a majority, though, long-term at defensive end. I think he's going to be similar to Pascal as your big D end. I think that's going to be his role in the future. I think that's what he's going to be long-term. And I think the Lions are okay with maybe not seeing him a ton this year because they'll just dial into like, this is your job. Let's let you play this consistently because you played undersized defensive tackle in college. Let's let you work on this in the background. And the vision is next season, the future is Josh Pascal and it's Mekhi Wingo. Those guys run that position. That's the future of that spot. So I think the versatility's there. I think year one, maybe it is more DT because he's done it. He could step in there if you needed him to. He can give you a pass rush, and that's how he can crack the roster. But I think long-term DN, that's the future for him. That's kind of how I see it. Could be wrong. What about Martin? Martin's just a tricky one because I don't have much to look at. Like if I had more to look at with Martin, I would honestly, I could put him on a list like this. The other guys I've seen it. It's just, I've seen more sample size. Martin's difficult. It's such a small sample size. He needs to take big strides. And I don't know how to judge that until we see it. But I think you could say Martin. I think it's fair to throw the name out there. But I almost feel like this is just another good learning year for him because he'll get his reps. I don't doubt that he'll rotate. And maybe a guy like Kyle Pecco could actually push Broderick Martin more so than Levi. That could absolutely be the case. But I think really this is just a learning year for him. Like hopefully, like, hey, yo, learn behind DJ. Like you're going to need snap. You're going to see snaps at times. And if he's not there still, Kyle Pecco then adds the flexibility for the Lions where it's like, hey, he can play nose too. Like Kyle's done that. So I think it's going to be more of a learning year. But if it is fast enough, there's going to be times where, you know, Ali may miss a game and DJ may miss a game because that's what happens. We could just look at it historically and say that's going to happen at some point. Maybe then he could step it. I really thought Houston would be our job on the other side of Hutch. I don't think we should write him off, though. I don't think we should. But again, the issue is going to be consistently seeing him on the field. But I don't think he's going anywhere. And I don't think we should write him off as a pass rusher. Like, it's not like he can't pass rush anymore. He just has a style of doing it. It's unique. He can still rush the passer. He showed last year he could rush the passer. He just didn't play much. I wouldn't count James Houston out. There's so much value in just having a guy that can just rush the passer whenever he's out there. And it's so valuable to us because it's so different. He's so unique to our roster. But the issue is just finding a consistent 3-down spot. I don't know that ever will be the case as a Lion, but I think that's okay. I think that's fine. So I don't know. I like the comparison. Houston to Ojabo with Hutch. I like the comparison. Ojabo obviously had more of a natural build for that role, but I wouldn't count him out just because he missed time last year. I wouldn't do that because he was so good. He was so good in his first season that I don't believe like he just can't pass rush anymore. Like he forgot how to do it. If you look at his first season, he had at least total the pressure in every single game. So it wasn't like one game he just dominated. The other ones he was like, okay, he had a couple didn't do much. He made an impact statistically every single game he played in. And in this past season, first week Kansas City, he had 2 pressures. After that, we didn't see one in the next couple of games that he played, but they were also kind of sporadic and they weren't a lot of snaps. Again, he played 11 in the conference championship. So I'm not counting him out. I just think it's it's just a smaller role. But here's what I'll say. If James Houston makes the team, he's going to be valuable. But it's almost like that fine line of making the team versus not making the team. As long as he's here, he'll be valuable because he can rush the passer. As long as he's on the 53, he's going to be utilized. It's just about getting into the 53, knowing that there's a lot of guys that do a lot of things for us right now, And even though I think you're the athlete to do some of those things, Derek Barnes has now kind of cemented himself into that role. But I still think there's a value for him. There's still a role for him. If you think back to this offseason, right, I was signing Andrew Van Ginkel. I think the Lions look at Barnes as their Andrew Van Ginkel in a lot of ways. But there's still a gap to me. From what we've seen so far, there's still a gap between Barnes, the pass rusher, even though Barnes is crafty. Barnes crafty, he's long, he was a D end. He's got the background. I still think James Houston is just different as pass rusher. But Derek Barnes' ability to blitz, though, I don't know. Derek Barnes' ability to blitz can kind of shake everything up. I think Holmes has been building this team so deep and this rotations. Absolutely. I mean, that's the goal, right? I mean, also the goal is like truly building through the draft is what you're saying. You know, like your rotation, I feel like in a way, if your rotational players are your free agent signings, you've almost done your job. They're not always going to be, but like a majority of your free agent moves are just rotational pieces or they're role players. Like you've truly built through the draft because now it's your starters. It's your impact players that are the draft picks. Thought the Houston question was, can he regain his inhuman ankle flexibility after his injury? Can he still bend? From what I've seen, I think so. I mean, now it was a little bit. From what I've seen, I think it's still there. Now, he hit the ground a couple of times, but I think he had that in the first year too, where he was hitting the ground. I mean, if you guys remember, he had sacks where he would lay on the ground and still sack the guy. I still think he does. I still think you see that lean. I still think you see that flexion within his game. I still think it's there. But again, I think to what was brought up earlier, a guy like Matthew Betts feels like maybe that is the big competition for him. Maybe that's the guy that could push him out of a spot because even though I think he'll win more in the interior, he did win on the edge in college. That's how he won. He has a big-time first step, which James Houston has as well. That's the advantage they both have over Barnes, is they both have a big-time first step. So I think Betts, if anything, like when we talk about training camp battles, he'd probably be the guy. We'll get to that at some point, but I think I have a show coming up on that soon. Training camp battles, that's a good one. That is a good one. Derek Barnes versus, not Derek Barnes. James Houston versus Matthew Betts. I think it's one I'm going to have to write down. Mingo's going to be awesome sauce. I think eventually he will be. Yeah. Houston is also another 6 months of healing and training. Oh, I can't read. Houston is also another 6 months of healing and training under his belt by camp. Yeah, like I said, I think it's still there. I think the guy's still rush a passer. I mean, it's the same questions we've had since he's gotten here, but I just don't think there's ever a spot where that's not valuable. I think it's always valuable. As long he makes a couple plays preseason, boom, he's good. I mean, that's how I look. He'll make the roster and he'll play. He'll play at some point. But I do like that battle idea, though. I do like that one, though, because Betts is on the roster bubble, too. Right? He didn't take guaranteed money to come here. He's on the roster bubble. I mean, it sounds like they're going to keep him. He obviously wanted to come here for that opportunity, but it would make sense if the Lions laid out the opportunity as, hey, man, your opportunity is you're going to battle with James Houston. Derek Barnes is going to make this team. Like, I don't see Derek Barnes going anywhere. But there is still a unique pass rusher role for you. And you got a chance to battle with a guy like Houston for your spot. Like, dang, that's a fire battle, yo. I didn't even thought of that. That's actually fire. I was going to talk about battles here, but I think I'm going to save that. Those are the defensive breakout players. It's just where they're at. I think contract-wise just makes sense. So we went through, make sure we went through the things that we wanted to go through. So we went through the mock draft. We talked about some breakout players. I don't know what the next live show is going to be exactly. I have certain notes, but I know that we're going to break down soon. I think Davenport's actually going to be next. So I know that's not exactly what we're planning, but I've had some weird film issues. We'll get that figured out. I think Davenport's going to be the next breakdown. Did I miss anything? Okay, no, that's something completely different. All right. Hey, chat, y'all got anything you want to discuss? I think we hit on everything that we had to for today. We got the golf thing. We got the mock draft. We did the breakout players. Yeah, I think we're good, man. Hey, Thomas, what's going on, Thomas? If you're just joining, pull it back, man. Watch the mock draft part. I'm going to try to clip that. I'm going to keep trying to clip. I got this thing that clips things. I'm going to try to clip the draft thing. Even though it wasn't my best work, I'll be honest, it wasn't the best, but we did it. We got through it. I definitely want to do those live, though. I just don't think right now. I don't think right now I know enough of about these players to do a full one live. Like, I don't know enough of the players, but this is the thing again. If you guys just joined, answer 14. Let's talk about Hutchinson, because why not? Yeah, I don't have a problem with doing that. We could talk about Hutchinson. That's the mock draft, though. If you're just joining, big trade in the second round to move up. Only 2 picks instead of 3. Next time I'll do 3. At least. All right. Next. Well, I don't want to promise that because I might trade again. Look, I don't know. Okay. PFF only lets you do 3 rounds right now. They don't have enough players on there. Maybe I'll stay and make sure we get 3 picks because I got tons of dudes that I want to take still. We can talk about Aiden Hutchinson a little bit. What was that? I saw something about Aiden Hutchinson today. I don't think I saw it. I think I was actually just watching and taking it away. So what they say, 21% is his pass rush rate, right? It jumped up from like 12% last season. And I was thinking like, yeah, he does play a ton of snaps, right? He plays a ton of snaps. But then we were thinking about opposite pass rusher. We think about, Marcus Davenport fell into the top 32 there. The more I think about it, I saw a video and they were ranking defensive fronts. And I think they ranked us second behind the Packers, I think. Which is kind of weird. Actually, while we're here, let me just look this up real quick. Because I don't know why the Packers were at 2. Chad, does the Packers got a better front 7 defensively than us? I heard him say that, and I was like, wait, what? But the more I thought it, because I was thinking like, yo, the defensive line is actually, we just talked through. It's actually pretty good across the board. We don't have like a lot of weak spots, I would say. Yeah, I'm looking at this. So they have Rashawn Gary. Okay, actually, no, it does. I can see how they do that. Kingsley hasn't, I don't think, done much for him. I can see how they do that. They're looking for Van Ness to step up. I can get it. Devontae Wyatt hasn't been great. I'd go with us. Pro Focus went with it. I'd go with us because the interior, I'd say we know exactly where to be. Kenny Clark's awesome, though, so I don't have no knocks for Kenny Clark. I would just go with us because of our interior. I would take Hutchinson against Gary or Preston Smith, but then it's kind of like, okay, you could argue their number 2 pass rusher is more proven, or it's Van Ness, which is fair. I got no issue with that. And they're pretty deep, too. Like, Carl Brooks done some, they're a little bit, not that deep. They have Carl Brooks. We're pretty deep on paper. I don't know. I just thought that was interesting. I saw that today that they ranked us 2. I thought that was, ranked us 2, man. I don't know. Anyway, did we hit on everything we had to? Hey, NBA news. That may be something that we end up doing with Rad a little bit. Rad told me that he had picked his new team. So I was like, okay. I won't spoil who it is. I'm going to let him do that. I'm going to let him tell you who his new team is that he's going to be following. But I think we can put that in the upcoming streams. But I know free agency's been going crazy. So I've been like watching that. Yo, it's okay. Is it? I understand it. How much money is the NBA making here, though? Like straight up, like, so they had this is go off topic, but they had like the second apron, right? Added. I'm looking at these deals that dudes are getting, and I understand there's less players, but the NBA is not making as much as the NFL. Nowhere near it, right? But not only that, like when you see these deals that these dudes are getting, like role players are getting 3 years, $27 million for Najee Marshall. That's a big contract in the NFL. 3 years, $27 million is a pretty big contract. Outside of quarterback, bro, that's a nice deal. That's a real nice deal for a player. And I'm like, okay, is this like something where it's like each team has different amounts of money still? I'm like, how do you? Maybe they just had a ton of money. Maybe they overpaid the guy. But it feels like a lot of these dudes. Obviously the top players are getting banked, man. But I don't know. Like Valanciunas signed 3 years, $30 million. 3 years, $30 million is a big deal in the NFL. DJ Reader didn't get that. DJ Reader. Is DJ Reader not better at his? DJ Reader's one of the best nose tackles in football. Is Valanciunas one of the best centers in basketball? Like, it just throws me off a little bit. I'm happy we got him, though. You know what I'm saying? The Wizards about to be a championship contender next season. But I don't know. It just, hey, I don't know. I think it's weird. But anyways, think we hit on everything. Expect tomorrow, probably a breakdown video. Wednesday we'll be back. I think live stream. Maybe it might be at night though. Here's what I want to do. I want to put a schedule out. I think I'll post it in like the community tab. So stay tuned for that. If we put a schedule, I'm going to post it there. But I need to just put the streams out earlier, guys. If I put the stream, like say if I put it like 5 hours out and it was like, hey, we're starting out. Does that help? Because I am kind of just like jumping into a live stream. If that helps, I will do that going forward. Okay, I can do that going forward. So look forward to that. I think that's going to be the plan before I put a schedule because I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. But I think we're dialing this thing in a little bit. And again, these should turn into podcast format as well. Oh, here's what I was going to do. No, I forgot this. Okay, I knew we were forgetting. So, okay, I was going to read the comments from one of our videos live. I think we should do. My man got the Tobias. Oh, my. He just signed, dog. Wait, didn't you guys already have Tobias? Though? Okay, you did. You already picked. I saw that. I'm like, isn't he already there? All right, we're going to pick one of these, and we're going to read through some of the comments. I don't know how this is going to go. I think what we're going to do, because there won't be a ton of comments on it, is go through our last live stream. We're going to go. I did not plan this. I did not plan what I'm about to see. We're going to go through our last live stream. We're going to read these comments live, okay? Read some of them. Maybe not all 8. Some of them might be crazy. All right? We're going to respond to these. You're going to get the attention, all right? Let's do it. I'm gonna pull this up on the screen right now. Oh boy, I'm pretty fired up. Okay. I haven't read these. If there's anything heated, I apologize. But y'all put this out there. This is public information, all right? Y'all put these comments out there. We're gonna react to them. That's all it is. We're just gonna react to some comment. I think this could be a fun segment. It could be, or it could be awful. We may never do this again. All right. First off, hey man, possible video idea. Would love to see a breakdown potential dime and dollar usage. Maybe different personnel that could be used for the front 5 and back 6. I think league high was 25%. You think so? The league high. Are you saying the league high dime and dollar usage was 25%? I can look into that. I would have to look into. So you're just saying who would be on the field? I don't have an issue with that. That could definitely be a segment of the live stream too, because today, Lucas, we drafted a safety, and I think that goes right into that discussion of like how are these guys going to play. I mean, obviously we've seen CD Deuce do that, but let me write something like that down because I think that's something we could talk about. You said dime and dollar. Okay, let me write that down. My pen work. Dime and dollar packages. I'm not mad at that. I'm mad at that at all. Then we could talk about that front, right? Like what front would actually, what front? Okay. I mean, this is good. We're going to do our roster predictions, but we can still build out like a depth chart right now where we're at. All right. First question or first comment from Motown Mitch. Yo, I don't know how this is going to go. All right. Let me zoom in a little bit. No way I'm making that switch. 5, me, St. Brown, Gibbs, J-Mo, DPJ, Raymond, and Laporta all day over Smith, Brown, Barkley. No way I made. Oh, that was the thing that I brought up. We were looking at the rankings. If you didn't see this, we were ranking the receiver position, or we were reacting to PFS rankings. And I asked the question. Shout out to you, Motown Mitch. Thank you for answering the question. And I said, would you switch basically our receiver room with the Eagles for us? Not for everybody, for us. And I said, you could make that case that you would. And he's saying no way he would switch all day. So I think that what he's saying is like he wouldn't take Phillies, he would take ours instead. Rock with that. Okay, I see you, Motown Mitch. All right, now good comment. All right, next up, Jose Zamora says Goff is a god. Okay, I don't know about all that. Short to medium passes in the middle of the field. I don't see anybody better than him at his game. Okay, hey, all right. But his weaknesses in throwing deep passes, especially sideline lines. If you go back to the 2 bombs all season last year, Tampa Bay 2 at Dallas. Oh, I can't read. 1 Tampa Bay, 2 at Dallas. Okay, so you're saying he has an issue throwing to. Okay, well, here's why I'll say this. To get consistency from Goff, you could also point to throws like against Carolina, right? Like that was a dot. All right. I don't have the clip handy, but y'all know what I'm talking about. If you do, the Josh Reynolds over his shoulder, that was beautiful. You get like within 20, 25 air yards, right? Like you can throw some dimes. You throw some dimes just dropping it in. I would count the St. Brown one because you would still count the depth of the end zone. Y'all remember the touchdown that St. Brown had from the slot where he wheeled out? Was that against Minnesota? I think it was against Minnesota. And it was just like money. So I hear what you're saying, though, because I think he's disagreeing basically for what I said about like, that's not where he lives. Now, I don't agree with the God and stuff, but he is a dog within 20, 15 yards, whatever it is. I see you, though. I'm with you. I had no idea Pistons draft pick is. Can Brad Holmes draft for the Pistons too? Okay. I did bring that up. Yeah. I still don't know who they drafted. Hey, Tobias Harris. What can you tell us about your draft pick? We need to get a Pistons guy on here to break this down. All right. What can you tell us about your draft pick? Guys, I still don't know. I am following the free agency, though. I see what they're doing and making moves. Well, not necessarily the Pistons got Harris, so they did that. Are we feeling confident? Like, do we feel good about the Pistons moves? And then they hired their new coach, right? Bickerstaff, is that who they hired? Genius. He could do better. All right, look, this isn't a hate on Pistons session. All right, so my bad. I didn't mean to turn this into that. Let's keep going. This number 5 rank for the defensive line is exciting. Okay, I think it was 4, but I see what you're saying. If we end up being number 5, our defense will be our entire defense will definitely be somewhere in the top 10. Completely agree. Someone said earlier, they thought we could be top 12. And in our last show, someone asked, hey, if the back end is the back end, are we going to get there? And I said the defensive line. I said the defense fine because I think they need to be healthy and we know what they're going to bring. But you can make either point, to be honest. He's pointing out the defensive line. It still is true at the back because back end's trash. Your defense ain't going to be there. But I obviously love what they added, so I'm confident in what we did add. But he's right. He's right. I mean, it blew me away that they had us at number 4, but it does make sense. And we have arguably the best interior defensive line in football. Like, you can make a case for that. And when healthy, we have the best. You can make it, especially if Aleem does anything that he's been doing. So I see you. Yup, because the secondary is completely revamped. I see you, Bobby. I mean, we got Carlton Davis and then drafted 2 more studs. Man, I can't wait to see this team on the field. Okay, I see you. And then Michael responded to Bobby. I would definitely add as high quality Amik Robertson and Emmanuel Mosley. I like how you did that. I like how you brought Mosley into this space. Avoiding injury, Rakestraw with immense potential. None of these guys played last year. It's true. Our quarterback group is suddenly simply astonishing. Oh my. Hey, yo, he called the quarterback room astonishing. Now I'm fired up. They'll have to prove it on the, well, if it's astonishing, we're good. If it's astonishing, we're good. Hey, all right, we're going to leave those there. I don't need to respond to anymore. I was assuming we get some more hate, but I've already seen those. We'll save it. If y'all want your comment reacted to when you're rewatching this or you're watching it now, put it down in the comments below. We'll react to it in our next show. I'm going to end it here, though. Run it back if you're just joining. We did a mock draft. We talked about some breakout players. Tomorrow, breakdown video. That's the plan. And I will see y'all then. At very least Wednesday, because we'll probably be live again. Probably at night, too. But we'll see. I mean, if I don't get a guest, we may just go early again. Hey, also, the intro, I got to get it updated. That's why I didn't play today. So I can't play it on the way out because it's been acting funny. But we out. Have a great day. I'll see y'all then.